Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. A man and his son see a strange creature next to a strange alligator kill. And this report came in today. It's hot off the press. In the North Carolina area, there is a national reserve that is a large and expansive forested area that's protected. And it's protected due to the diverse eco-habitats it contains. The area is made up of pine forests, saltwater estuaries, bogs, raised swamps and tidal rivers. Now the resulting landscape makes a haven for any diverse array of wildlife. So it should come as no surprise to learn that there are also reports of Bigfoot and Sasquatch creatures, along with a multitude of paranormal and extraterrestrial reports. Set on land as old as time, this area is home to far more than many people realise. Now, Jerimiah Fountain is a long-term researcher who lives in a rural neighbourhood on the edge of the protected forest in rural eastern North Carolina. Jerimiah is a keen outdoorsman and he's no stranger to the area. He's also a keen cryptid and paranormal researcher who has for many years worked alongside some of the leading Bigfoot researchers in the field. He was trained by Will Jevnig in evidence collection and research techniques. Jeremiah has been studying the area for a possible hotspot or route through the area due to the number of reports and early evidence found in the forest and the bayou itself. Jeremiah was out with his stepson yesterday evening, 9th of April 2020. They had set out to search for what they believed to be a possible corridor or route on the very edge of the forest. There are a number of game trails and waterways that meet at this particular point, along the tracks on the edge of the forest, potentially making it a choke point and an ideal area to look for evidence finds of prints and possible structures or hair. Across one of the waterways is an old train trestle, which they were walking down, and the train track trestles a bridge over the bayou at one point. Just as they were approaching the bridge, Jeremiah's stepson spotted something further along the track and asked Jeremiah, "What is that?" And he points to something heavily built and tall, standing about 200 yards away up the track from them. I don't know what it was, and I don't want to guess. All I can say, it was tall, it was heavily built, it was auburn in colour, and it moved off very athletically, said Jeremiah. Jeremiah's stepson made this statement: "As we were walking along the tracks, I saw something standing on the other side of the bank further down the track. I brought out my phone to take a picture, and I asked Jeremiah what it was, and I pointed where I could see it standing. It was just standing there looking at us. As I lifted up my hand, it just bolted. It went into the tree line across the bayou. I was standing there pointing to where I could see him, or what I think was him, peeping in the trees on the other side of the bank." Jeremiah said we can't speculate on what it was, but I think it was a Bigfoot. We stood there a while watching it, peeping back and forth in the brush. Eventually, Jeremiah was able to make out something across from us both, but it stayed very well hidden all of the time. Now, Jeremiah and his stepson turned around and went down the slope into the bayou area itself to look for any possible evidence for what they'd just seen. At and around the trestle, they did find lots of prints in varying sizes. And they also found a strange dead alligator with a strange set of bite marks on its neck and its back. The bite marks looked as if something had bitten it. There were two things that stood out as strange, Jeremiah said. One was the way this alligator had been bitten, because normally, if it's another gator, as they are cannibalistic, if a gator attacks another smaller one, it will take a limb or a tail. And when they do bite, they bite and roll until the limb is removed. They won't bite chunks out the top of the animal's back or its neck. Then they would move the body below the waterline or out of way. Now, we do have large cats in the area, but the second reason I think this kill is still strange is due to where the alligator had been placed. It was positioned high up on the trestle girders of the bridge, and it was hidden under a piece of bark, a stick and a turkey wing. In order to get images, I could not get to the exact spot, Whatever placed the alligator there would have been at least up to its waist in alligator-infested water, with outstretched arms and the ability to place it if we found it. If I was to do this, I would have to stand in the water, pick the alligator up, place it there on the trestle, and then cover and conceal it. It was covered with a long piece of bark. Part of its head was showing and the area around the bites. So something killed this thing and had eaten from it, then placed it up there and hid it away until it was needed. It had to be tall, really tall. Jerimiah stayed in the area and he collected photographic and video images of the different prints they found out there and the alligator itself. When Jerimiah's stepson first spotted the possible Bigfoot, it was not too far from a railroad sign. They did try a size comparison to try and work out or gauge the height of the possible creature. Jerimiah was even with the sign in height, and this thing was about 2 foot above it. So in estimation, Jerimiah concluded the creature would have been well above 7 feet tall. Jerimiah collected his evidence and they returned home. Although he's still not 100% what they saw, Jerimiah was happy to make this report, and he will continue to research the area in the hopes of finding further evidence. Now, in the same area in 1977, a military officer recalls a possible daylight sighting while driving in the area in the United States. He stated, "One day, 2 friends and myself were out for a drive in the early afternoon, and we were on this 2-track road called FR 144 outside of Havelock, North Carolina. When we came around this bend in the road, we all saw something very strange, a very large, dark figure walking on 2 legs towards us about 75 yards away. It was only for a few seconds that we saw it, because whatever this was, it turned and walked straight into the woods. When we got to the spot where it had walked in, we all agreed we thought it went into the woods, and we stopped, but we did not see anything. The ground was dry and hard, so we did not see any signs of it. I don't think it was human, because it was an area that has no farms or homes or anything on it. It's just wilderness. Also, it was dark from head to toe. It was all one colour, and it appeared to us that it did not want us to see it." Now, a very early report, a newspaper report, comes from 1875, and it describes a short swamp monster that was approximately 5 feet tall, and this monster attempted to abduct 2 children from an area about 15 miles north of New Bern in Craven County. The father of one of the children confronted the creature, and he knocked it head over heels with a well-directed blow on the forehead, causing it to drop the kids. It then scrambled to its feet and ran into the woods with lightning rapidity. Prior to the abduction attempts, the beast had reportedly been preying on poultry, garden vegetables and green corn to an alarming extent. A much more modern report, made in 2011 by a law enforcement officer, where he observed a large figure along the riverbank while hunting for deer near Pinnock. I was deer hunting not too far from Angola Bay Gameland in Duplin County, North Carolina. I was walking through the woods by the Northeast Cape Fear River, and I observed a red-tinted figure approximately 8 to 9 feet tall. It looked like it was taking a drink of water. I was so frozen by what I was seeing, I couldn't move from the shock. It took a drink, and I looked up, and I believed that it saw me. It got up, and it walked off in the distance over a hill, and then it was gone. Needless to say, I ran for at least 2 miles, and I haven't been back that way since. In the summer of 2009, a deer hunter had a sighting of a large creature while checking his corn pile near Rose Hill, North Carolina. While checking the deer bait pile behind my home in the woods, I walked up on a 7 to 8 foot tall, stinking hairy creature that was eating my corn. It was sitting down when I first saw it, with its back to me. It heard me, and it stood up and faced me from about 25 yards away. That's how I judged its height. I froze, and it regarded me for a few moments. I was absolutely terrified, but I acted as if I was not. It seemed to decide that I was no threat, and it walked away into the deeper woods. I had a pistol on me, but I did not feel threatened enough to attempt to kill it, and I don't believe the 38 would have stopped it anyway. Then it would have probably ripped me limb from limb. Now, the witness described another possible sighting in December of 2008 when he was hunting and a small group of deer walked by with a small upright creature the size of a 10-year-old human, and he was walking with them. Asked if they appeared to be frightened of the 10-year-old, he said they acted like the creature was part of the group. In July of 1975, a man hit a 7-foot-tall, reddish-brown creature with his car and then was pursued by the creature. He said, "I've never told this to anyone because I didn't want to hear the jokes. But it was mid-July of 1987. I was heading towards the beach in my sports car. I had the top down and music blaring. It was around 8:45 p.m. and it was still light, sort of dusk and on the edge of dark. I had my headlights on and I was cruising about 60 miles an hour when I rounded a corner, and there in the road stood this large hairy thing. I slammed on my brakes and swerved around it, but I must have glanced it because it bounced over the passenger side of the car. I slid the car around and stopped where my headlights were about halfway on this thing. It got up and it came at me. I was about 25 feet away from the thing and the smell was horrible. It hung in the air like a wet blanket. It was about 7 to 7'5" in height. This creature had reddish-brown, massy-looking hair. Its face was hairless and it looked ticked off. I put the car in reverse, backed up and threw the car in drive and took off. As I was spinning around, I looked in the rearview mirror and it was right on my car's rear end. I heard a loud bang, and about that time my car caught traction and I took off. I left the creature running down the road after me. I have never been so scared in all my life. After I got to my destination, I checked my car. The passenger rear quarter panel was dented in and it had hair on it, and my rear spoiler was shattered where it had hit the rear of the car. I told my friends, my family, the police and the insurance that I hit a stray cow, but it took weeks to get the smell off of the inside of my car, and the inside still had that smell to it for a long time. It was an awful smell, like sewage and something else. I was 27 then. I'm 38 now. I have not been down that road since. I will drive 45 to 55 miles out of my way not to go in that route. Did you notice in those reports, many of the witnesses, I think all of them said it had a reddish-brown colour to it, a reddish-brown tinge to the hair. And the alligator that Jerimiah found is absolutely unbelievable. It was placed up on the trestle of a train track. It had been covered with a large piece of bark. Part of the tail was showing and part of the head was showing and where the bites were, but other parts of it had been covered up as if quickly with things that were found around. There was an actual turkey wing along with it and a very smooth long stick, which was quite strange. Can you explain the bites? Is there anything out there that could do that bite, place it up there, cover it up, and to come back and take it later? Let me know what you think in the comments. Jerimiah does have a Facebook group on the trail of cryptids. It's a Cryptid and Paranormal Legend group. So what I will do is I will stick the link to his group in the description below. So until next time, thank you all very much. Good night.